there's something inside of me that's here that's not as obvious as it used to be. But it's still there and always will be. It's deep inside. Let me take you back to a day in August, way back, 1987, when that thing inside was all out on the surface in green camouflage and alpha dress uniforms and the eagle, globe, and anchor of a U.S. Marine. I had just returned from 2 weeks in Okinawa, Japan, where I had the opportunity to train with active duty military police. And I was a Marine Corps reservist as part of the first military police company here in Dayton, Ohio. And I was in formation over at the Reserve Center at Gettysburg Avenue. And as I was standing in formation, I was a young corporal, 22 years old. My platoon sergeant, Sergeant Reichel, called me off to the side. He said, "Crotty, Gunny," which is the Marine slang term for gunnery sergeant, Gunny Miller wants to see you in his office. I thought, uh-oh, for a minute, because sometimes when a gunnery sergeant wants to see a corporal, sometimes it's for things that need to be corrected. But I kind of knew that wasn't the case. This was kind of in a way more of a very positive situation. Because you see, at that point, I'd come up to my 4-year mark, where I had completed my initial 4-year enlistment in the Marine Corps Reserve. And there was 4 years of active drilling and 2 years inactive drilling. And at that point, every Marine has to make that decision. Are they going to stay? Or are they going to go? And what had happened is I had been given the opportunity to go to Okinawa as an incentive to stay. So what was coming when I walked in that office, in that reserve center, there was Gunny Miller, a Vietnam veteran, grizzled gunnery sergeant, but he was as any Marine NCO, they're good, solid leaders. And he looked at me behind that government-issued desk with those Marine Corps recruitment posters up on the wall. And he looked at me with that kind of little bit of a smile on his face. He goes, "So what's it going to be, Crotty? Because this is the deal. We like you. You're a good Marine. You're a good MP. We want you to be a member. We want to keep you in this unit." And at that moment, my mind was swimming. Because you see, there was these two options that I was just like struggling with of where I was going to take my life at that time. And that's the trouble with when you're 22. You don't have the wisdom and experience, the 2020, the hindsight. I do now. But at that time, my mind was swimming because this was a organization, a group that I had joined, that I became a part of, that I had earned my right to be a part of in. And the other option had to do with traditional corporate route, the life in the suburbs, with the right kind of glasses on, right? So let me take you back, even back before when that journey to the Marines started. In May 2nd of 1983, I had just returned home from my failed, fun freshman year of college. And on Christmas break, I had enlisted on the delayed entry program, and I knew I was going to ship to boot camp come that first part of May. So I was coming downstairs, 4 a.m. in the morning. The recruiter pulled up in that four-door sedan government issue to pick me up. And up to the front door, my dad walks me to the front door in his bathrobe and his coffee cup. And he comes up and he goes, "Well, James Patrick, off with you now. And best of luck to you." And he kind of gave me that look thinking like, "You're not going to make it." and then he just walked back in and I said, and off it went. And nervous as can be. See, I was 130-pound, 18-year-old, skinny, And what didn't make sense to my parents, both my mom and dad, is that I enlisted in the Marines because I wasn't supposed to do that. See, I was this nature lover. I was a shy, introverted kid that grew up with chemistry sets and taking my telescope up to the roof of my parents' house. And I was taking my camera out to the woods to photograph the animals, the creek, and everything like that. I was a nature lover, super shy. In the Marines? Really? But see, my dad was in. He served 2 years just after World War II. And I thought maybe, perhaps, this would be some way that I could connect with him and actually find something, a common ground, other than, and I'm going to talk about this other option, the family business. Because that other option was that corporate career route, and it was not just a normal business, it was a sizable business that was started by his father back during the Depression. And he grew it pretty well. And then I had all these brothers working in the business as well. So there was this kind of like expectation for me to pursue that route. But instead, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to reach him other than through the business. I wanted to reach him there, the Marines, and to prove something to myself that I could do it. I was scared to death, and off I went. The recruiter took me down the military processing center in Cincinnati, from there to the airport in Atlanta, the flight to Dayton to Atlanta, the flight to Charleston, and then, boom, Parris Island, South Carolina. It's all true. It's intense. And I was scared to death. But I found that as soon as I took that first step and I got into that system and I got into that flow, day by day, I started to prove something to myself. I could actually do this. Not only could I actually do this, but I was making friendships that I look back upon, and I'll never have friendships like that ever again. Because this is the thing about the military. When you show up, and you all you bring with you is what's right here. And that's where you're weighed and measured there. And so, in fact, and I measured up. And so the friendships I had there, like John Couturier, my bunkmate in boot camp, he looked just like me. Not only that, we had a similar last name, and we became unofficial brothers according to our drill instructors. To this day, he's still my brother. After boot camp, going off to military police school in Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. And one of my best friends, another best friend from boot camp, Jeff Adams, who went with me to military police school, and going through the training down there, and these forced marches up in the foothills in Texas, in this hill country, where you got 70 pounds of gear on your back, you've got no sleep, less food, and the point where I almost collapsed to a heat stroke on a forced march, and Jeff was the one who grabbed me by the 7082 gear by the pack, pulled me up, and carried me the last mile back into Mainside. You know, those are the friends, right? And then when I came home and I reported to the Reserve Center, and as a young private, and there was this corporal, this order corporal, Glenn Lasley. He took me under his wing, right? And to this day, he's my best friend. And he's seen me go through a lot. I've seen him go through a lot. And we're always there for each other, right? These are like the friends that when you're that age, though, you don't fully appreciate it. And that's the problem. But that's what was swimming through my mind, because the other option was the corporate route, the family business route, the home in the suburbs, right? The managerial position, the nice suit, you know? So, but more than that, it was an expectation. Because at that time, I was also finishing college at University of Dayton. I was working full-time in the business, and I was serving in the Marine Corps Reserve Unit. Out of all those things, the one thing that kind of became my sanctuary was those Marines, those friends, that camaraderie, right? So As I stood there in front of Gunny Miller, and he said, you know, Crotty, what's it going to be? We want you here. We want you part of this. And I looked at him, and I said, Gunny, I'm not going to re-enlist. If I could go back, I would say, Gunny, I earned my right here. This is where I want to be. These are the friends I want. And so, if I could go back, I say, yes, Gunny, I want to stay. Thank you.